The southern African country of Malawi is no stranger to poverty. It's one of the poorest countries in the world, with over 60% of Malawians living below the poverty line. As a consequence, Malawi has been home to a succession of ambitious international projects designed to kickstart its economy. So far, none of them have worked. Now there's a new poverty reduction scheme in motion, promising new solutions. Life visited Malawi to report on its progress. In a radio studio in the city of Blantyre, they're opening the weekly phone-in show.
I was here singing alongside
Edward Gankomba.
And tonight we're getting clarity on the Malawi Poverty Reduction Strategy paper, and our special guest on the program is
the Executive Director of the Civil Liberties Committee, Mrs. Emi Chanika.
On the agenda, the latest prescriptions for ending poverty in debt-burdened countries like Malawi.
08204-101 or 08205-101. This is a very, very important topic as far as the development of Malawi is concerned. So call us, give us your inputs to make sure that we all forge ahead.
You are talking of strategies for reducing poverty. Who carry this forward? The people who are oppressed? The people who can't make ends meet, who don't have bread on their table. To improve the poverty in Malawi, you really need good hospitals. You need healthy people. You need nurses and doctors. And there's massive brain drain.
In Malawi, poverty reduction is now part of a national debate, talked about across the airwaves, in fields and villages, in this country of 11 million people. Since the introduction of its Poverty Reduction Strategy Paper, or PRSP, it's become a priority in Malawi's corridors of power. PRSPs are a new strategy designed by the World Bank and IMF to help countries like Malawi reduce poverty and so meet the Millennium Development Goals. They're an admission that previous strategies didn't work well enough.
There was a sense, I think, by the latter part of the 1990s that many structural adjustment programs, not all, but many, in many countries, had not had the effects that those of us that had suggested them would necessarily have expected ex ante. And that part of the issue was related not so much to the specifics of the programs, but rather to the extent to which these were owned by countries.
The new strategy put the onus on the Malawian government to draft its own PRSP in consultation with civil society, which was then submitted for approval by the international finance agencies. Developed in the year 2000, Malawi's PRSP sets out to fund pro-poor economic growth, health and education programs, provide a safety net for the most vulnerable, and ensure the government protects and benefits the poor. In theory, once a country's PRSP has been approved, it then qualifies for debt relief and lending at preferential rates to help finance poverty reduction. But theory is one thing, reality another, for the Malawian government.
We have the program, which is a PRSP program, based, but since the IMF have not, and World Bank have not sat into their board to say, okay, give a green light to all bilateral agencies to say, let us support the program as prescribed in the Malawi Poverty Reduction Strategy paper, then we'll have a problem even in implementing what was written in the MPRSP. In the first year, we thought they're just going to do it for 6 months. And after the review team came in, they said, no, there are still remaining some issues to be resolved. Then another team came in. They said, no, there are still issues remaining to be resolved. That year went, and another year came in, and now with a new team altogether, now there are some issues to be discussed, to be resolved. And this is a game which is continuing, and we don't know. And actually, we don't know when they'll resume this flow of aid.
There were issues primarily around the overrun of government expenditures and issues of transparency around government spending that led to a suspension initially of the IMF program, and as a result of a considerable part of the budget support that is provided by other donors.
But those issues also reflected the